Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Sunday ordered the entire government machinery to brace for Super Typhoon Nando with international name Ragasa, directing national agencies to assist local governments preparing for torrential rains, landslides, and life-threatening storm surges across northern Luzon. In a press briefing, Office of Civil Defense or OCD Officer in Charge, Assistant Secretary Bernardo Rafaelito Alejandro IV said, the President instructed the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC, and its 44 member agencies to remain on full alert until Nando exits the Philippine area of responsibility. He added that the NDRRMC response clusters, led by Defense Secretary Gilberto Chodoro Jr., have been activated. According to the Philippine Atmospheric Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAGASA, Nando strengthened into a super typhoon on Sunday morning. It is expected to bring rainfall of up to 200 millimeters in 24 hours, with authorities warning of severe flooding, landslides, and storm surges of more than 3 meters in Batanes and Cagayan, up to 3 meters in Ilocos Norte, and 1 to 2 meters in Ilocos Sur and other coastal towns. Alejandro said Regions 1 and 2 and the Cordillera Administrative Region will bear the brunt of Nando, but the storm's circulation, amplified by the southwest monsoon and tropical depression Mirasol, would also drench Central Luzon, Metro Manila, Calabarzon, and the Bicol region. Data showed that as of early Sunday, 184 villages in the Cagayan, Bicol, Western Visayas, and Zamboanga regions have been affected by rains linked to Nando and the enhanced monsoon, displacing 28,831 families or 104,151 individuals. At least 8 evacuation centers have been opened, currently hosting 165 families or 497 persons.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, Malacañang suspended government work in classes in all levels in Metro Manila and 29 other areas on Monday as Super Typhoon Nando threatens most of Luzon. Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin signed Memorandum Circular No. 97 on Sunday, declaring the suspension order upon the recommendation of the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRMC. The suspension order also covers the provinces of Abra, Antique, Apayao, Bataan, Batanes, Batangas, Benguet, Bulacan, Cagayan, Cavite, Ifugao, Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, Isabela, Kalinga, La Union, Laguna, Mountain Province, Nueva Ecija, Nueva Vizcaya, Occidental Mindoro, Oriental Mindoro, Pampanga, Pangasinan, Palawan, Romblon, Rizal, Tarlac, and Zambales. However, frontline health and emergency agencies are directed to report for work. Local chief executives in areas not covered by the suspension order may impose such if necessary. Meanwhile, suspension of work in private companies and offices is left to the discretion of their heads.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. ordered the police to exercise maximum tolerance in handling anti-corruption protests that turned violent near Malacañang in Manila on Sunday. In a television interview, when asked for the President's directive, Department of the Interior and Local Government or DILG Secretary John Vic Remulla said to exercise maximum tolerance and that no one should get hurt. Remulla was on Mendiola Street where rallies clashed with authorities and several protesters were arrested. In a separate statement shared by the Presidential Communications Office or PCO, Remulla said, "The police will not tolerate violence." Earlier in the afternoon, violence also erupted at Ayala Bridge when demonstrators wearing ski masks and balaclavas hurled rocks and bottles and set a police motorcycle on fire. Police raised their riot shields to block flying debris while repeatedly urging the crowd to remain calm. Several officers were splashed with an unidentified foul-smelling substance, though no serious injuries were reported. An explosion of unknown origin was also heard while firefighters rushed to extinguish the flames as some rallyists fled the scene.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meantime, Malacañang on Sunday said Filipinos must sustain the fight against corruption, warning that forgetting the lessons from the multi-billion peso flood control scandal would allow wrongdoers to thrive. In a televised interview, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the fight against corruption must continue, noting that President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. started calling out the illicit activities. Thousands joined anti-corruption rallies across the country, with protesters demanding accountability over irregularities in flood control projects that the president flagged in his State of the Nation address or SONA on July 28th. Investigations are ongoing into alleged ghost projects and inflated contracts linked to massive infrastructure spending that critics say worsened flooding in several regions. The scandal has since fueled broader calls for systematic reform and clean governance. Castro said the broader responsibility lies in the hands of the public, who must break the cycle of electing the same leaders who allow corruption to persist.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Sunday dismissed speculation of unrest within the Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP as various groups held anti-corruption demonstrations nationwide over anomalous flood control projects. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. remains confident in the military's loyalty to the Constitution. In a television interview, Castro said the president knows that the people are not anti-Marcos but anti-corruption. The wave of demonstrations follows the uncovering of alleged anomalies in multi-billion peso flood control projects. A group led by retired military officials also gathered outside the AFP General Headquarters in Quezon City as they protested against the systematic corruption in the government. Bigger demonstrations were held in EDSA People Power Shrine and Rizal Park in Manila. President Marcos first flagged the issue in his fourth State of the Nation address in July, directing a comprehensive investigation into alleged ghost projects and irregular disbursements. The chief executive has since formed an independent body to pursue accountability. The palace earlier said President Marcos canceled his scheduled trip to New York for the United Nations General Assembly to personally monitor the protests and ensure peace and order. Castro said the president views the rallies as a legitimate exercise of free expression as long as they remain lawful.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Saturday announced the return of the 60 billion pesos in excess funds to the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation or PhilHealth after its previous transfer to the National Treasury to support the state health insurers' expansion. President Marcos made the pronouncement during his visit to Dr. Josefa Belia Memorial Hospital in Santa Cruz, Manila. The Supreme Court or SC issued a temporary restraining order or TRO in October last year against a further transfer of PhilHealth funds to the National Treasury following several petitions. However, 60 billion pesos in unutilized funds were already transferred at the time of the filing, with only 29.9 billion pesos remaining with PhilHealth. In April this year, Finance Secretary Ralph Recto said the move to redirect PhilHealth's excess funds is legal, moral, and economically sound, noting that not a single centavo from its members' contributions was touched. Recto also said around 78% of PhilHealth's 60 billion peso remittance was used to finance critical health projects. President Marcos conducted a visit to the Dr. Josefa Belia Memorial Hospital to evaluate the implementation of the government's zero balance billing policy, which eliminates out-of-pocket expenses for PhilHealth members receiving medical services in public hospitals. During the visit, he inspected the hospital's facilities and met with frontline healthcare workers and patients. The president said the government is committed to making healthcare services more accessible to Filipinos by removing barriers to essential services.
Alam niyo nung kinuha ng Department of Finance yung 60 billion na pera ng PhilHealth na hindi naman nagagamit ay dinala sa national government. Kahit anong paliwanag na ibigay namin, kahit na anong pakita natin na dumadami ang serbisyo na kinocover ng PhilHealth, may pangamba pa rin yung tao na baka mabawasan yung mga services. Dinagdagan na natin. Pero siyempre, hindi mo maiwasan yan dahil ibang usapan ito. You were talking about life and death issues here for people. So you cannot blame them na may pangamba sila na baka sa pagkuha ng 60 billion na dinala nga sa national government, ay baka mabawasan ang services. Kahit na napatunayan na namin na hindi mababawasan ang services, siyempre nandun pa rin ang pangamba. So I'm happy to be able to announce, dahil sa ating mga ginagawa, siguro alam naman ninyo lahat, yung mga savings natin na bago, na galing sa iba't ibang departamento but mainly from Department of Public Works and Highways, yung 60 billion na yan, ibabalik na natin sa PhilHealth para hindi lamang para sa pangamba ng tao, kung hindi dahil gagamitin na natin, nagkaroon na tayo ng savings, gagamitin na natin yan para palawakin pa ang serbisyo ng PhilHealth.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Saturday launched the discounted beep cards for students riding the metro rail lines, aiming to make public transportation more affordable for the youth. The rollout of the student beep cards at the Ligarda station in Manila of the Light Rail Transit Line 2 or LRT2 is part of the Marcos administration's broader public transport reforms aimed at improving commuter experience across Metro Manila. In his speech during the ceremonial launch of the white beep cards, President Marcos said students would automatically get a 50% discount when riding the LRT1, LRT2, and the Metro Rail Transit or MRT Line 3. The President also highlighted a new and more convenient method for topping up beep cards, eliminating the need to visit physical reloading stations. President Marcos said the discounted beep cards are expected to ease the financial burden of student commuters and enhance their daily travel experience throughout the capital. The chief executive reaffirmed his administration's commitment to improving the overall commuting experience.
Kaya napakalaking tulong yan dahil alam naman natin, students are on a very, very tight budget. That's why we are very happy to be able to launch this new system to give the beep card to our students. Unang-una, ang processing talagang pinabilis na natin na mabuti. Maka-acquire ka na ng dati, ang beep card, bago mo makuha yung beep card, 7 to 10 days ang processing. Ngayon, 3 minutes na lang. Dahil pagpunta nila riyan, basta't may ipakita nila na talagang student sila, na they are attending school, dadalhin ngayon doon, mag-imprenta sila ng beep card, loadan lang nila, at saka yung pag-load, hindi dito. Kahit anong klaseng pagbayad, pwede GCash, pwede PayPal, pwede lahat. So hindi na sila kailangan bumalik dito para mag-load. We are very happy to be able to do this dahil together with the discounts, well, actually it's free for the PWDs and for the senior citizens. Isinunod na natin ito for the students. And but even more importantly, ay ang nagawa natin, pinabilis natin. We made very much more convenient na ngayon para sa ating mga estudyante na makapag-avail dito sa programang ito na 50% discount para sa mga student. So congratulations sa ating DOTR, congratulations sa mga manager ng LRT, and this is patuloy na pag-modernize natin sa ating sistema ng transportasyon para naman ang ating mga, hindi lamang estudyante, mga manggagawa, lahat ng sumasakay ng tren, lahat ng sumasakay ng public transport ay maging mas magaang naman dahil napakahirap kung minsan ang dinadaanan bago makasakay, bago makarating doon sa kanilang pupuntahan.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has placed the National Commission of Senior Citizens, or NCSC, under the supervision of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, in a bid to strengthen policies and programs for the elderly. Executive Order, or EO number 96, signed by the President on September 18th and which takes effect immediately, mandates the transfer of the NCSC to the DSWD from the Office of the President, or OP, for purposes of policy and program coordination. The order says, pursuant to the administration's 8-point socio-economic agenda, which includes improving bureaucratic efficiency, a strong organizational link between the NCSC and DSWD must be established to further strengthen policies and programs for senior citizens, with the goal of enhancing delivery of social services and promoting the overall well-being and protection of the elderly. According to the EO, the DSWD will remain in charge of implementing the Social Pension for Indigent Senior Citizens, or SPISC program, and may work with the NCSC to help ensure its success. The NCSC was established by Republic Act, or RA number 11350 in 2019 to ensure full implementation of laws, policies, and programs for the promotion and protection of the rights and well-being of senior citizens. Under RA 11350, all DSWD functions, programs, projects, and activities for the poor, vulnerable and disadvantaged senior citizens shall be transferred to the NCSC, which was then attached to the OP. On the other hand, the SPISC was established through RA 9994, or the Expanded Senior Citizens Act of 2010, to provide monetary grants to eligible senior citizens to support their daily subsistence and medical needs. RA 11916, signed into law in 2022, increases the monthly social pension of indigent senior citizens from 500 pesos to 1,000 pesos.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service is live on audio streaming. Just download Evox PBS Receiver on your Google Play Store or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our post as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.